FPX versus RNG. So far, RNG not off to a great start in the split, but you know what? That's the beauty of the LPL. You never know who's going to be up, you never know who's going to be down, you never know who's going to be in the middle. LNG, this definite surprise of this split. But let's see how everything unfolds. Enough of that as we go into picks and bans. We have the Thresh and Senna ban. Of course, FPX are one of the most Senna Tahm playing duos in the entirety of the league, to be honest. And Lucian ban against RNG is pretty much a constant, it's a staple. Looks like RNG going with some topside aggression, at least initially. They're leaving themselves open to the potential of playing through topside, while on the side of FPX looks to be a lane Lee Sin with a jungle rumble, a bit of a dive composition already forming. That really is the flavor of the drafts nowadays from the LPL. Lots of Dianas and Lee Sins and Akalis and Viegos. Gwen is still up and available for both players. RNG, just as I say that, pick it away. We got an interesting composition here coming out from RNG. Let's see what FPX. If I were FPX, what would I pick here? Probably a solo laner yet again, because you already have the two enemy solo laners as well as the jungler on the other side. Conversely, you could opt to pick a AD carry and ban two AD carries to follow. The only AD carries that I left. Okay, so there's still the Kai'Sa available. For some reason Gala doesn't seem to be too interested in playing that in this split. Although in the last split he really popped off with it, if you ask me. He seems to be more interested in the Varus and Ezreal picks. Of course, Ezreal is not going to be an option here. FPS can look to ban out the Varus, of course, or they can look to ban out supports like the Lulu. I was more expecting the engaged supports like the Nautilus, which seems to be Ming's most played champion, of course, next to the Braum and Leona. But really the difference between his most played and his second most played is about 8 games, if I'm not mistaken. It's like 11 games of Not and 3 games of Leona and Braum each. On the side of RNG, with the bot lane pick still available, really Kai'Sa seems to be an obvious ban here, because if I'm not mistaken, Kai'Sa, Varus, and Ezreal are the most played champions by LWX right now, but for some reason still opting to ban out Nocturne, not believing that this is a solo lane set. Actually fully settled on the idea by the looks of it that this is a support set. Set Kai'Sa, of course, is pretty good. Level 1 is insanely effective. Of course, Set provides so much damage, as FPX is actually the ones who end up banning the Kai'Sa. Are they trying to draw a Varus ban from RNG? After which they could look to do a Jinx lane. They could potentially look to do a Aphelios lane, but generally Aphelios is paired up with the Thresh RNG. Interesting to see what they would do here. Will they look for another solo lane ban? Or will they perhaps look to ban out a support or AD carry for the second round of picks? Eventually, it looks like Jax is the ban here. Not quite sure what's gone on in scrims, all gone on in their heads to result in that kind of ban. Not sure where Jax would fit into this composition. It's already so low range. To be expected, the Varus pick, this is pretty much the most regular AD carry you could get at this point in time. Poke Varus, Lethality Varus. Pretty gross, if you ask me. I think it's kind of nasty that this kind of champion is allowed to exist. A lot of fans shouting out the man on the screen, Ming, one of the most seasoned and veteran players in RNG currently. In fact, in the entire season, in the entire split, as to be expected, the Nautilus ban pick does come in. Now, from the side of FPX, let's see what they have. They've got a little bit of poke and some heavy dive composition. To round it out, I think a Leona would fit really, really nicely here. As would, I'm not sure, I don't think Braum would fit particularly well. RNG have got a very early game spiking composition. In fact, their entire team picked in sequence from top laner all the way down to support, unlike, of course, FPX, who opt for the Tahm Kench. One good way to counter your opponent's dive composition is just have a little bit of safety for yourself, and there is nothing safer than a Tahm Kench, at least up until 11.13, I do believe. In the next patch, is it the next patch or the patch after? That's when Tahm Kench becomes a mini Rakan, and the ultimate does not help you. The save is not there until Tahm Kench hits level 6. It looks to be a mid lane Lee Sin here for Doingby, going up against Gwen, Gwen's new champion, but Lee Sin is a new champion to arrive in the mid lane and experience so much success. Xiao, who actually looks to in the last second be traded to be given the Gwen up against the set, as both the coaches bow to each other. Steak was in Steak used to be a Gamma Bears player, if I'm not mistaken. This is like back in season 2, and of course, Who can forget Tabe being the RNG support player back when Whites, who else was up there? I think it was Whites. I know Uzi was in the game, and I don't really remember, truth be told, who the jungler or the top laner was. Yeah. Anyway, getting back into this game. Forget a little stroll into history. Nowadays, the new talent all so quick on the reflexes. Even though truth be told, Crisp is looking a little bit haggard over there compared to Ming. Ming looking a lot more refined. Both kind of same in stature though, like the body size, the slouch, the height, the body composition. So if it wasn't obvious enough from draft, FPX have a slightly weaker early game composition, more of a mid game power spiking, while on the other hand, RNG are really gonna have to leverage their strong lanes. They have a Renekton in the mid lane. Gwen is pretty much their scaling point. I actually like that little shift because from having kind of two contestable and winning side lanes, you now have contestable and winning mid and bot, and you have pretty much a scaling top lane that you can kind of fall back into. Gwen is the most broken champion. And although it does feel like it for every single champion that is released, I have to say Gwen has to be up there in terms of the most broken champion. I think Aphelios is probably way, way up there. But Gwen, she's so safe in lane. She does so much damage. She's got so much sustain. I always thought she's supposed to be a split pusher, but literally watching every single LPL team play, they always, always, always group with her. And at first I couldn't understand it. And after reflection, I was watching it and I was like, you know what? This makes sense now. She literally stands in front of the entire enemy team, puts down her W and starts mincing up their frontliner. And by the time the W fades, your frontliner's dead because she does percent HP damage for some reason. And after which point, your carries need to run tuck tail and vamos out of there, lest they want to get run over by Gwen and the four goons that stand behind her. She's like the ultimate main character, so she fits into every team composition. The only thing she doesn't have, the only two things she doesn't have, is range of up to 500 units without her ultimate, and CC. God bless. Because if she had one form of hard CC, she would actually be the most broken champion in the entire game. So, looks like we're having some trouble loading into the games. We're going to go through the team compositions yet again. So, RNG, they have the Gwen scaling top lane. They have Renekton. They can contest for priority in the mid lane. Can set up for some very easy ganking as well from the Diana. And then, of course, you have the Kalista not in the bot lane. While you might struggle a little bit to get priority away from a Varus and Kench. Fact remains is that you got plenty of CC, not right off the bat from level 1 will have two forms of CC. Gonna be a bit hard to get onto Varus, of course, given the Kench is gonna be a constant presence in the lane. So to a certain extent, I feel like FPX has done pretty nicely with their picks. So it's going to be pretty hard to make a play off bot lane. Mid lane, Lee Sin does have quite a decent bit of mobility, good ability to trim the waves and avoid dives. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Set of course does have the Haymaker, and that shield pretty much is key to how well you play Set. Now, it looks like we're finally going to be able to load into the game. 58 seconds in already. Looks to be just a couple of wards dropped across the board defensively for RNG. And it looks to be kind of defensively as well for FPX. So, do we expect to see RNG play through bot side? It's made it a little bit harder now that Kench is in the picture. They could, of course, opt to play just through mid lane. It's gonna be a little bit harder, of course, to play through top lane, given your top jungle combination is double AP with no CC shared between them. Except for the slow coming in from Xiaohu's ultimate at level 6, and of course, the pull-in knockout coming in from Wei's ultimate at level 6. Looks like Gala is just 28 assists, off of his off of one of his career achievements, off of one of his milestones. I'm not quite sure when he came into the league or when his career started, but it doesn't seem to be a very new thing. I think he's been RNG for just over a year at this point. It looks like first wave priority is going in favor of RNG in the mid lane. So, what we expect to see here is priority in the mid lane for RNG, and then we expect to see probably top lane priority is going to be on FPX, and bot lane is going to be pretty even, though I would expect that Gala is going to have the ability to push waves at decent speed, especially once he starts stacking up a bit of the attack speed. LWX does have the ability to wave clear, of course, with the piercing arrow. It looks like 3 camps later already, Tian is making a motion towards mid lane. Perhaps Wei is a little bit too far out, but Tian's going to be spotted out on that defensive ward. It looks like RNG fully aware of what he was going to try and do. Crying does have his slice and dice, nice little sidestep, slicing towards Tian and using him as a little trampoline off towards the safety of his tower. Did get chunked out a little bit, however, by the second Electro Harpoon as well as the Flame Spitter, and Tian is just going to be able to continue his pathing. No fear really of being counter jungle considering he has top priority, and Diana really isn't an early game duelist skirmisher or any form of a threat. Truth be told, she doesn't really do too much damage. Now, Ming was stepping forward a little bit aggressively, but I guess he also doesn't want to get hooked because Tam Kench does tons of damage in the early game. We're starting to see a lot more supports with Exhaust as their summoner spell nowadays. Nice little mix going on as Nuguri in the top lane with the flash on the Haymaker, trying his best to try and one-shot Xiaohu. Unfortunately for him, Gwen is just not a balanced champion right now. In early game, Gwen is just as threatening as a late game Gwen apparently, if not more. Looking at the statistics, Xiaohu 66.3% KP on his team as a hook lands onto Chris. Looks to be a 3v3 down here with a teleport coming in. Chris is going to be exploded before the teleport even accomplishes, as Crying teleporting while doing B, making a stroll down to mid lane. Looks like he had a little bit of mid priority and he tried to leverage it. Unfortunately, the bot lane of RNG were in position for it. Dragon is not even spawned in the map. That's how early this play was made. It looks like Tian is going to be in position to cut off Crying as Crying is being zoned from the mid wave. Thankfully for him, the wave is not under tower as doing B might have to flash over the wall. He does indeed. Sonic Wave nearly landing as Tian now waiting to take down. No one from RNG is nearby. Looks like Crying is going to be made into a new pair of shoes, although it's going to be a yellow and blue looking crocodile, Lego crocodile sneakers. It is still something, as 2-1 now kills in favor of RNG, 400 gold lead across the board. Looking at the statistics, RNG are more likely to get first bloods about more than 70% of their games, as well as first tower. Let's see what happened here. Did Nuguri perhaps tank a tower shot? Nope, doesn't look to be the case. Looks to be a straight up 1v1 and Xiaohu just having the time of his life, snipping, snapping, cutting, slicing away. Nice little mini move sidestepping the set Haymaker center right there. And just like that, Nuguri on this pick, on this set, really not many options to touch the wave aside from the face breaker. Really his only way of farming from afar, and that also kind of screws up your wave. But it looks like Xiaohu, knowing that he has no idea where Tian is after, and only knows now after dropping that ward, needs to play a bit more careful, will be backing off. I would like to see how that bot lane scuffle managed to start out, but I suppose we will not get a... Hopefully we can get a replay of it, but even if we don't, it seemed to be quite self-explanatory, just a little bit of an all-in coming out from RNG, knowing that their jungler was in the area. This time, if anything does get taken, Dragon is up. Now we see there's literally 9 places. Oh, Ming trying to just weave his anchor between the minions. Unfortunately, a little bit off-centered, and a nice piercing arrow coming in, trading off some damage. LWX not really doing too much damage right now with that tier and double longsword combination. Now, we see there's 9 teams between FPX and RNG now. So in the whole grand scheme of things, there really isn't too much at stake here. FPX, of course, a loss would be quite damaging to them as the competition is quite tight up in the top of the table. On the other hand, RNG, I think, do not want to allow themselves, of course, no team wants to lose, but as the team, as the favorites coming into the summer split, as the champions of both MSI, spring regular season and spring playoffs, as Nuguri looks in the top side to be completely being wrecked by this. The sustain is just way too much, and Nuguri is trying to stand his ground. He really couldn't have escaped from that, truth be told, and doing be going really deep under the tower. It looks like both the solo laners of FPX trying to make plays independently. Tian is in the bot side, does not have his ultimate available, while Wei is only in the top side. Gala at half HP. This could be something about last. They really don't have much CC share between them. LWX is the only form of CC with his E slow as well as his ultimate. Unfortunately, he is not yet level 6. Now, looking at the side of FPX, ganking lanes is a little bit hard for Tian because Nuguri is the only real form of hard CC available in the laning phase before 6 for any member of FPX. Doing B will have his kick, of course, available only at level 6, and the bot side, as previously mentioned, Chains of Corruption will only be available at 6 as well. So Wei really has a lot more to work with. Unfortunately, he is more of a farming jungle, especially in the first 6 levels of the game. Now that he has gotten level 6, however, he can now start to poke and prod, look for openings, avenues, and opportunities to make plays. Looks like he doesn't need to show too much attention up to the top side, just needs to get some vision in there to protect his top laner. And just like that, Xiaohu able to just skirt and skedaddle away from the haymaker damage. And just look at that. Just presses Q, snip, snip. Nuguri loses a third of his HP after a little bit of a trade, and Xiaohu all the way back to full. Xiaohu does still have his ultimate, that's the thing too. He just killed Nuguri just now, and his ultimate is available yet again. CS wise, at least Nuguri is doing a pretty decent job keeping up, even though he is 700 gold behind, attributed to the 2 solo kills that Xiaohu managed to get over him as Wei pops over the wall, and looks like Nuguri is going to die here again. Wei is here, as is Tian, however, but looks like Xiaohu's actually going down. But look at the sustain coming out from that champion. As the moonfall comes, Nuguri takes a tumble as well, and gravity does its work. Doing B is up here as well, but it looks like he's not going to get too much done, as Crisp has made a rotation now. Rift Herald is up at 8 seconds time, a very nice timed pick. However, the damage coming out from Nuguri probably means that RNG will not be able to contest this due to the lack of a top laner. And also because their support rotation is quite late. Now RNG, even though they're going to be late for this fight, looks like they will be here to take a fight after, not wanting to give this free, as Dominus is popped. Doing be picking up the Rift Herald as a hook lands onto Chris. The Devourer was there, but looks like Chris is going to be left high and dry, as Crying and Wei do get lambasted a little bit by the Equalizer, and FPX somehow able to use their ultimates very well in order to disengage. Crisp has been a pretty key factor in allowing that to happen. Every player using every key spell pretty perfectly. Dragon's Rage coming out, Equalizer rolling out as well. Now that both teams have level 6 junglers, we can start to see a bit more. Pretty sure Tian is going to want to focus most of his attention down towards this bottom side. When do you ever actually gank for doing B? If you think about it, the man is the secondary jungler. He is the ultimate ganker. He is the mid lane playmaking machine. And really, at this point in time, it doesn't look to me that Xiaohu is going to be particularly easy to kill. Though, truth be told, that's only going to get worse and worse the more items he gets. So maybe there's some opportunity to go up there. Then again, imagine dropping an Equalizer on a Gwen who just presses W. She won't even get slowed. That's the grossness of this champion. So, given those facts, it seems pretty obvious that FPX are going to want to focus most of the attention towards the bottom side. Not to mention, Dragon is the only objective available as well at this point in time, and it looks like FPX are very much in position, posturing to start this out. Crying does have mid priority, however, so he can get the first rotation in. Doing B trying his best with his Iron Spike whip advantage, as well as having his E to just get the mid priority back, but looks like it's not even going to be necessary, as FPX do secure themselves an early dragon. RNG, you'd expect this to really be the part of the game where they take control, but for some reason have not been able to be particularly proactive outside of that little play down in the bot lane previously. Although the kills are 4-1, you can see the FPX not at all be particularly far behind in this game, quite comfortably able to step up contest objectives, and in the top side, really this is where we see most of the action unfolding, as Nuguri just takes a swarm of needles to the face, might get Doven here. Tian is sprinting his way up, and Doing B does not have teleport. On the other hand, however, Crying does have his. Nuguri thankfully will have his passive to start stacking up his HP yet again, just rejuvenating and regenerating as Wei's in the area. Flash forward with the face breaker. Unfortunately, it hits everything. Equalizer landing only onto Wei and not onto Xiaohu, as Nuguri needs to use his haymaker to clear out the wave. Will not have that for protection now. Couple of ultimates thrown, and ultimately nothing lost by either team. Rift Herald though will get a charge off into the mid lane, as in the bot side RNG is trying to defend their jungle, but Gala and Ming are finding themselves in a 2v3 situation in which they see an opportunity onto LWX, pop it, try their best, get a flash out, as Doing Me seems to be very much in control of this lane. A 20 CS advantage, over 1000 gold in the lead, 1 kill up as well, and FPX, even though they are slightly behind in terms of gold, even though they're slightly behind in terms of kills, seem very, very much in control of the game. Not even Steven right now. Very nice rotation up there from Tian, able to defend his top laner Nuguri, playing that to within an inch of his health, which is a little bit risky, but I suppose when you have a matchup so unfavorable as this one. And the funny thing is, I don't even think it's a particularly unfavorable matchup. is doing B teleport straight on top of Crying, trying to be as much of a nuisance as possible, deny the cannon minion as much as possible, just keep this mid push constantly under RNG's tower, and Crying, really, there's nothing that he can do. He's just being eternally besieged, just dashing in and out, but Doing B has tons of sustain also because of the safeguard. Really, I'm not quite sure what RNG can do in this mid lane situation. It looks like Doing B is just getting the priority too easy. The Iron Spike Wick combined with the E is just too much as the teleport is coming in now. Crying finally using his ways in the area, does have his ultimate up as well. The setup is very easy, of course, with the Ruthless Predator as it does come in, but the kick comes out as well. Ming flashing in as well as the Moonfall. Doing B being stacked on by 3 people. The only person on his team that was nearby was Crisp. Unfortunately, he's not quite able to close such vast distances just yet. Now in the top side, yet another round of fighting. Not sure why Nuguri still continues to try this. I call this practice in futility, as a nice little snip and slide comes in. Fortunately for Nuguri, he didn't have his passive stacked up just enough, and Xiaohu is not going to be able to close out that kill. Again, not sure why Nuguri participates in this futile attempt to duel Xiaohu. At this point, with Riftmaker finished, you having no mythic item yet either means that there's no way pretty much that you win this, even if he was some other champion. Although Set is pretty strong in the early game, the Gwen is just a whole other beast, as true to statistics, true to form, true to fashion, and true to our expectations. RNG do secure themselves the first tower in the game, and the top side, it looks like Tian is in the position to look for a gank, Doing B just absolutely bludgeoning Crying up in this mid lane. And Wei will have his ultimate off of cooldown in about the next 30 seconds, in time of course for Rift Herald. As we see Crying take a reset now, he's going to have his plated steel shoes? Plated steel cap shoes? I'm not really don't know what it's called. I really missed the name, Ninja Tabbies. Anyways, he will have his tier 2 boots finished before Doing B, which maybe will allow him to run away a little bit better, or keep his spacing and distance between him and Doing B a little bit more comfortably. But Crying, really no time to even allow his HP to regen to full before sprinting it back. FPX on the other hand getting synchronized recalls for their top and mid laner. Now will they contest Rift Herald or Dragon? I would say chances are Rift Herald. FPX are always more of a Rift Herald team, wanting to snowball the game as much as possible, and right now up against RNG, they look to be very much... Actually, the gold is quite heavily now sliding in favor of RNG. It's almost over 3,000 gold in advantage, and already they look like they're rotating a Gala up. But with Wei already starting up this Rift Herald and not a member of FPX in the area, it looks like the advantage that Xiaohu managed to get by himself, as teleport is going down bot lane, seeing opportunity to jump onto LWX. LWX has nobody nearby. Chris can look to try an Abyssal Voyage next to his AD carry, but that looks to be a practice in futility, as well as RNG just quickly give him a snip and snap. Xiaohu soloing LWX, who was stepped way too far out of position, even tried to use his Prowler's Claw to get into a safe position. And right now, looks like RNG are going to secure both the neutral objectives, especially since Tian has just dropped his equalizer down towards the bottom side, not wanting to hemorrhage too much and allow RNG to get away with too much. Doesn't look to change too much, however, as Wei does have Rift Herald up in the bottom lane, and it looks like FPX have all but abandoned their bottom lane tower. As a stride breaker in, Nuguri, finally a champion that he can duel very comfortably, as Crying seems to be taking the short end of stick no matter where he goes. Doing B does not have his Dragon's Rage available, but it's like FPX are just going to ignore him and opt to take tier 3 mid tower. So although they lose both of their side towers, they do get to open up the map a little bit more from a central location, which I think FPX will be pretty happy with. It's a pretty good consolation prize, all things considered. But Rift Herald has yet to be used. It looks like Crying is about to get ganked here. He's trying to hide in the bush, and Crisp and Doing B, unfortunately, crisscrossing and missing both of their skill shots, means that Crying will be able to defend this. Now they're rotating their bot lane up is RNG to try and push and defend this, as Crying, super greedy, is pretty much going to get 4-man ganked. In comes the kitchen sink, and there's nothing much you can do about it as a 2-legged crocodile. But in the mid lane, looks like Wei is just a tower destroying menace this game. Really focus eyes on the prize. Objectives are how you win the game. Crying, good bait, my guy. Not quite sure how planned that was, as LWX does manage to eventually take down Rift Herald before it gets off another value charge. So now, looking at the game, FPX 3,000 gold comfortably down. while being as well 4 kills down so far. Even though Crying has been taking the blunt end of the stick, he is 100% of the deaths on RNG. He has caused decent amount of pressure, been able to defend towers semi decently, and allow the rest of his team to make plays. Not everyone can be carries, of course, and sometimes Crying, it takes a bigger man to just accept the fact that you are the weakest member of your team and to just allow yourself to get carried while also pressuring the map and inting strategically, as they say. Now, RNG, with no outer turrets to take, no neutral objectives left on the map. Let's see what they do. Looks like the main call to order here is to secure a mid priority as well as get some deep vision into FPX's jungle, which they do have a limited amount of, but it looks like the invasion of FPX's jungle is on the cards here for RNG. Maybe not. Maybe they just want to sit back and let the waves bounce into them as Crying does run towards the bot side. There is going to be a wave crashing towards the top as well, and that wave looks big enough to take out the tower as Xiao Hu hops, skips, and jumps his way up towards top lane just in time to pick up the wave. Really not even going to lose 1 CS because the cannon minion, of course, was tanking up the entirety of the tower aggro. Now, FPX, on the other hand, looks to be playing a 1-3-1 with Doing B being shadowed by Tian. So, honestly, a 3-2 situation. RNG, without a doubt, in control of the game. Indubitably in control of the game. But FPX, you must say, don't feel like they are completely out of it just yet. Let's look at both of these teams from a team fight perspective and lens. Obviously, LWX is looking to die here. That's not what I meant to say. But Ming, he had flash. The depth charge was available. He had way across, just over the wall. And honestly, from the minimap, you can see where Nuguri is on the top lane minions. So I'm surprised he didn't go for that. Then again, not knowing where Doing B is pretty important, because knowing where Doing B is pretty important. So not knowing where he is kind of is what actually I think is the reason that Ming was not allowed to go on to that move onto LWX over there, because Doing B is without a doubt the strongest part of FPX right now. He can see based off his items as well as his CS that Doing B can 1v1 pretty much everyone, probably with the exception of Xiao Hu, who has now also completed his second item, opting for Cosmic Drive, a semi-defensive item as opposed to the Banshee's Veil or the Zhonya's, as Doing B channeling his teleport looking for a kill. Is he trying to make a pick onto Xiao Hu? Xiao Hu is the highest level person in the entire game, but in comes Doing B kicking Xiao Hu right into Tian, who flashes over the wall, and with the Flame Spitter, apparently it really doesn't take that much to take down Xiao Hu. Maybe that champion isn't as busted as I suppose, as Doing B opting to just tank a couple tower shots to ensure a smooth and clean getaway. Dragon is spawning in 40 seconds time. Xiao Hu with teleport will be available for that fight. In fact, all the teleports in the game are available with the exception of Doing B's, which was just used to make a pick. Will he stay up in this top lane and try to secure themselves their own tower? Needs to be careful, however, as Ming and Wei are below him, although the two of them probably are not enough to take him out. Gala in the mid lane will not rotate because, of course, they are more interested in taking this dragon. Looks to be a win soul this game, not a particularly important objective for FPX, considering the fact that Rumble Ultimate is pretty much on a 20-second cooldown in the late game anyways, and the fact that the ultimates are kind of, Chains of Corruption is pretty good, Showstopper is pretty good. Always good to have more Dragon's Rage, I suppose. But on side of RNG, though, this is pretty huge. Depth Charge, Fate's Call, Dominus is kind of meh. But Moonfall, as well as the needles coming out from Xiaohu, I'd say it's pretty value for RNG. So it's fair enough that they put a bit more of emphasis on it. It's not like you could defend top tower anyway at that point because, of course, Xiaohu's death and not knowing where the majority of FPX were probably skulking around in your top side jungle. No reason at all to rotate towards that side of the map, especially blindly. Taking a quick look at the gold, despite the kill lead still being 3 in favor of RNG, FPX have managed to close the gold gap pretty significantly now, only about 1.3k gold behind. Gala so far has been farming up a Storm, is the most farmed champion in the game right now. Gala is also one of the most farmed. Ooh, Crescent Strike coming in. He did have the opportunity to jump on them, but I don't think that Xiaohu would have been in position to help him. If he went in, means he'll be in a 1v2 for about 5 to 7 seconds, which is more than enough time for him to get absolutely eviscerated and exploded, roasted and toasted. He does have Zonias, however. So the next fight, let's take a quick recap at the items. So 2 items coming in, a stopwatch and a Zonias on the side of RNG for their top and jungler respectively. Meanwhile, on the side of FPX, they only have 1 stopwatch available, and that is on Tien, who's going to need to position himself very nicely. Probably want to overheat with the Flame Spitter activated and go golden as Chris doing B face checking now into Ming and Wei. Unfortunately, he's quite tanky. In comes the double teleport with both Xiaohu and Crying. Doing B in the front line, uses Dragon's Rage to disengage, and it looks like it is going to be enough. Look at him trying to lifesteal, pick up the plants right in front of the entirety of RNG as Wei is jumping onto Nuguri. Nuguri is really not tanky at all, has 1.5 items altogether. He has almost less items than Ming does, in fact, as Nuguri is not having the time of his life despite having pretty decent CS. Let's see what has been blown in that fight. So Dominus is gone, Needles are gone as well. Flash taken from Nuguri. He does have the showstopper as Doing B stepping too far forward, Crying trying to flash forward as the hook lands. Doing B in the front line, but is tanking so much damage with his Gore Drinker as nice equalizer drop splitting RNG. Ming is saved by the Fate's Call, and it looks like a lot of posturing, a lot of button pressing, but ultimately nothing much unfolding as RNG only have 1 ultimate available on their side. Meanwhile, for FPX, the same can be said as well, as Nuguri is pretty much the only combat ultimate available. So far, no Abyssal Voyagers have been launched across the map. And it looks like both teams taking stock of their ammunition and deciding ultimately that this is not the fight to take. Dragon will be spawning in 2 minutes and 30 seconds time. By then, we'll probably see most of the summoner spells off cooldown as well. In fact, we already do, truth be told. The only ones we're really missing are Xiaohu's teleport. All the teleports in the game were blown in that little scuffle. And Doing B just showing how slippery Lee Sin is. Might not be an Akali level of slippery, able to bob, weave, juke, and just absolutely be a huge nuisance in a team fight. But still plenty of disengage if it was necessary. And right there, he showed how necessary it was, allowing him to just step up so aggressively, so greedily, if we're going to be honest. Now, Gala does have the highest CS per minute in any AD carry, any player in the LPL, and generally it is your AD carries who have the high CS per minute. As we look at the table of highest CS per minute in the LPL, I'm pretty sure every single one of these people is an AD carry. Yep, it's Gala, Aiming, Light, and Kepler. I'm not gonna lie to you, not really too surprising. Gala leads the table, of course, with 9.8 CS a minute, really 0.2 off of being a 10 CS per minute player, which is exceptional, which is incredibly impressive. Of course, while the scores of the game might not reflect, while their position on the standings might not reflect the positive effect of all that CS, it's definitely better to have your AD carry being the most solid last hitter in the entire game, just able to squeeze out whatever resources are available across the map. Now, even though Dragon is spawning in a minute, both teams seem to want to secure vision towards Baron more, as Nuguri is sandwiched between 3 members of RNG. He does find Xiaohu, Ming, and Wei, closing off his escape. Doesn't even have flash, but he's at the back of the pit. He does have Crisp to eat him from over the wall, and there we go. In the bot lane, Doing B and Crying just duking it out a little bit, but Crying really not a match at all for Doing B at this stage of the game. In fact, it seemed in every stage of the game, Doing B was just running all over Crying. Looks like Doing B, seeing RNG motion towards Dragon, is going to beat a hasty retreat, and looks like all of the vision that FPX painstakingly took to try and secure in the top side has been swept away by RNG, as they now collapse towards the mid lane, not having any outer towers to siege, really not having much to do in the last 10 minutes as RNG. Nice bit of early aggression, but after taking the 3 outer towers, really nothing much being done, as FPX are quite split. Doing B and Tien need to be very careful as they're stepping up very aggressively. Looks to be a plain out 5v5 front to back, and in this situation, I got to say, I'm kind of liking RNG's composition a little bit more, even though Crying is not really a tank. Dominus is pop, he's motioning for it. Doing B jumps in as the smite does come through from Wei. He is kicked away from the team as in comes the Dominus, but the showstopper to bring him away from the team. Wei looking for an angle as the equalizer is dropped across 3 people. Nuguri just jumping onto Wei, realizing he needs to keep him out of the fight, and RNG in the pit secure themselves a victory as a nice little flash coming out from LWX, dodging away from from the anchor toss, but alas, into the waiting arms of Wei as Doinbi tries to jump in and secure himself. Ming jumping over the wall. Xiaohu running in after him with his scissors in tow. Doinbi flashing over the wall, but Xiaohu is relentless in his pursuit. But I think he is too relentless, and the result will probably be going down. But no, never mind. This is an easy 1v3 for a Gwen player. Abyssal Assault, first one of the game comes through. Set is in there as well, but look how slippery he is. Xiaohu is just running and dashing. Flash in with the tongue lash as well as the stride breaker. Will Xiaohu be able to fight this? He needs to actually fight it though. Unfortunately, he's just buying time as RNG begin their Baron buff. Thankfully for them, Set does have teleport, as does Doinbi, and a double teleport later. RNG winning the team fight, maintaining the kill lead at 3, but the gold lead, however, is not really moving. It's just perpetually at 2k. And right now, FPX looking very comfortable in that situation. Nuguri, nice disengage, forcing the Dominus up, Crying away from his team. I was just watching how Nuguri played that fight. Look, he just grabs Crying when he slides in, brings him into the team, and then I didn't watch at all what happened in the pit. So let's see what happened here. So nice play by Nuguri, and he identifies that Wei is the next threat, runs up towards him. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And what goes on in here? Doinbi and Tian both flash in, but unfortunately Tian was CC'd permanently, didn't even get his stopwatch off. Nice flash coming out from LWX. Unfortunately, Wei sees an opening, uses his flash as well, and then another beautiful stopwatch, one that we did not account for in the pre-fight run-up, I suppose. And the fight is continuing over here. Ming being chunked out by Doinbi. Doinbi is relentless, still has the Dragon's Rage as the face call comes in to help him. Teleport is coming in. Double teleport is both Crying and Xiaohu, but Crying is very late to the fight as in comes the equalizer across 3 people. And right now, RNG look to be winning the fight, but FPX, just as quickly as I say that, are actually look to be the ones actually winning the fight. What the heck happened? As RNG take a tumble, 5-man go down. One of the teleports, I don't remember if Xiaohu or Crying, was very late. It was a perpetual 4v5 for a moment there, as we're going to need a replay for me to try and break down what really happened. I was just going to say, however, that Gala really has been farming up Storm. He's at 311 CS, has 3 items complete. This is where you expect Gala to be at his strongest. From here on out, it's pretty much going to be a tapering down kind of situation, especially given the range advantage that LWX will have with the piercing arrow. Now Baron does fall. Let's kick it to a replay. There we go. Now let's see what happens here. So it's a 3v3 right now. And then, yeah, Ming just gets absolutely chunked out. Let's see the teleports come in. If you see, yep, Xiaohu does teleport fast, but Crying very late on the teleport. And in the front lines, it looks like Wei is just absolutely out of position. Pops his Zhonya's, but doesn't get anything with his ultimate. And then in the back lines, it's just Doinbi running a huge muck, just finishing his little beef with Ming, not appreciating the fact that he survived in that dragon trades, in the dragon fight, going hard onto Ming. Absolutely no one wanted to engage onto Doinbi, and he took full advantage of that. He just ran, sprinted at Ming amongst 2 of his allies, finishes him off, and then runs after Gala with the Dragon's Rage. Doinbi, as always, hyper carry, my guy, is just causing so much of a ruckus. It's just such a huge hindrance to the team fight of RNG just unfolding. Now Xiaohu, don't get me wrong, is gonna be able to fight him very easily. The thing is though, okay, I'm not sure about very easily, but it'll be a close fight for sure. Now let's look at the goals. Somehow, after that fight, FPX, whoa! The goal lead has ballooned to 4k. RNG, not only have they lost their minor lead, they've also taken an incredible tumble down in terms of gold, and now it's a very uncomfortable position to be in, because even though you are a team fight composition, as we've seen and witnessed, Doinbi can just absolutely zone Gala and Ming from a fight. Meanwhile, LWX in this kind of situation is fantastic with his poke. Even though everything is falling short, Doinbi is in the mid lane, does not have teleport. So RNG, they can look to try for something here, but it looks like FPX are going to back off, just continue to play through their poke, and eventually some will hit, as we see here, Ming already chunked to about 2/3 of his health pool. Doinbi farming Raptors in the safety of his own jungle as Dragon is spawning in 24 seconds time. Taking a quick check on the items, looks like Stopwatch is available and Zhonya's is available for both the supports, both the junglers, and the top laner of RNG. Across the board, I must say that a lot of Zhonya's is coming in, look to be coming in, as Ming opting for Zhonya's as a second item instead of his first. Not sure if that's gonna save him, especially if Doingby is gonna be the one who's on his case. It's really not too much of a point Zonyazing in front of a Lee Sin as Crying is making his way towards top side, trying to crash a wave, trying to force FPX to lose at least a little something across the board, trying to make it so RNG FPX will not be able to push and in the top wave through a top lane Baron minion, as Baron is going to wear out now. 15 seconds left on that. Looks to be a general reset here for FPX, as they have managed to claw themselves up a nice 4,000 gold lead, 6,000 gold in total, I do believe, as if memory serves they were 2k gold behind. All in all, playing phenomenally. FPX RNG not doing too shabby of a job either. Now Wei has been farming himself up a storm as well. Is a 4 item Diana. Doesn't have much AP, but alas, being a jungler, that is how it be. The big AP items are a little bit expensive, as Nuguri looks to enter this side of the lane, is going to not like what he finds, however, as Xiaohu is in the area, and Xiaohu, only reason he's not absolutely mincing Nuguri to shreds right now is because he has no idea where the majority of FPX's team are. FPX playing with the fog of war very well. Nuguri taking this opportunity, is positioning quite aggressively, however. Probably doesn't expect any member of RNG to be in the area, given there being no dragon or other neutral objective out on the map. Baron is spawning in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, so we have to keep our eye on the clock, as we now is time for everybody to start farming up their items. Way jumping forward with his proto belt, as nice little insect coming in from Doingby, absolutely finding an angle, but there's no one on the side of FPX to follow up, as Gala's taken out of the fight. Nuguri now is making a beeline for him now in the front line. Way is being taken out as well as Doingby, the instigator of the fight, eventually does get taken down by Xiaohu, but at this point, at what cost does his life come, as Crying is taken out by a flash from LWS. LWS unfortunately flashing into the waiting arms of Xiaohu, but eventually FPX's mid laner Star Play coming out, takes out just, oh, I cannot believe this champion is also kind of busted, I think, as unfortunate tower aggro juggling going on by FPX. Not really anyone wanting to take it, as a nice little pause. Calm before the storm, I suppose you could call it, is an awkward pause. And I think this might be it, ladies and gentlemen. This might just be the end of the game, as FPX, no member of RNG, is up for the next 7 seconds. Oh, never mind. Looks like RNG lived to see another day. Live to fight, breathe, and gaze upon their nexus once more. Into the darkness, I suppose, my friends. Now, Gala really does nothing much he could do in that situation. First, it was Doingby jumping in onto him, and after that, Nuguri seeing his opportunity, tagging out. Doingby just tags out. Look at this. It's actually insane. I'm not quite sure how he saw this, and look at that amazingness. Even flashing in after him, and Gala, to his credit, does a really good job kiting around. Unfortunately, steps into the equalizer a little bit, and then Nuguri just forward with the strike breaker. Wei did get his ultimate off. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have been enough, as the rest of RNG just fall before our very eyes. Elderbeck's quite an aggressive flash forward. I don't think Devour was even available for him, but thankfully he did have his stopwatch. In fact, now he has his Guardian Angel, as LWX, also farming himself up a storm, is at his last item now, and that's probably going to be, what will it be? It could be an Umbral Glaive, it could be we haven't seen many. I forgot what the AD Banshee's item is called. Age of Night. Haven't seen many Age of Nights recently. Is it going to be particularly effective in this team? I don't think so. It could be pretty good against Ming, I suppose, because a depth charge and a hook will be, one of the two will be blocked. Wei's ultimate might be blocked completely. I really wouldn't hate to see an Edge of Night coming in here, as Doingby is also on his last item. Nice mix of damage and defenses from all of his items, even opting for a Serpent's Fang, wanting to, of course, get through as much of the Locket of the Iron Solari, as well as the Mortal Shield Bow, I suppose. Now, FPX, they do have bot prio. They do have Doingby sprinting it down towards the bot side, but looks like Doingby is going to be backing off. Interesting call here, I suppose, considering that the majority of RNG were in the top side. In fact, I think they were all in vision too. But of course, I am not particularly sure. I suppose it's better to play it safe. Does have his last item, and it is Gargoyle Stone Plate coming in. Now, Doingby is at the peak of his capacities, as is Nuguri, honestly, is at 5 items as well, sitting on a potion. Now, stopwatches are not going to be available for Tian in the next fight. He probably is going to be building towards his Zonias, but at least in this next fight, chances are he will not have the stasis available. Nuguri needs to be careful, as Xiaohu and Wei were waiting over the wall to pounce. Dragon is spawning in 24 seconds time. Now, RNG, on the other hand, items-wise are not faring so decently. Not really any member of their team at 5 items with the exception of Xiaohu and Gala. Aside from that, looks to be 3.5 items coming in here from Wei. Sorry, 4.5 items. 4 items for crying, and you know it's never a good sign when your jungler is out farming, out iteming, out resource having more resources. Sorry, it's never a good sign when your jungler has more resources than your mid laner, unless of course you have a utility mid laner, which in this case you definitely do not. A bruiser mid laner, you'd expect a bit more gold to fall into the lap of crying. Good news for RNG though, if you can even call it that, is that Doing B is going to start tapering off now. Every item that you get is going to be all the better as Nuguri solos out the dragon with Tian shadowing behind in case a smite was necessary. So now Doing B is going to eventually taper off, such is the nature of being so far ahead. You're not going to be able to get any stronger than this unless of course you trade out a bunch of items. Meanwhile, the rest of RNG is going to get stronger. The thing is though that RNG is more of an early game composition as Doing B just teleporting in front of their very faces, triggering a response teleport from Xiaohu behind his team. And it looks like FPX just want to get as much mid priority as possible so they can enter the jungle, try and sweep out whatever vision they may, as Doing B really going for the tankiness. Got even the tanky elixir and Wei, even though he'd like to jump in on that, those are the two tankiest members of FPX, as FPX stepping forward now. Doing B identifying Wei as the weak spot as the 3v2 comes out. The fight is so incredibly split as Xiaohu is on to Crisp and LWX. Meanwhile, Doing B and Nuguri are just taking out the front lines as Gala is free hitting now. Unfortunately, he's got no one to frontline for him as both Doing B and Nuguri are making a beeline for him. Xiaohu trying his best to snip away at them, but unfortunately just not doing enough damage as eventually he does take down Nuguri. Meanwhile, Wei is in a 1v2 situation in the back, but the Devourer is there. Xiaohu actually wins the fight, as does RNG. What? Oh my goodness. I'm not quite sure how that... What? We're gonna need to get a replay. That was such a split fight. I should have just focused onto one of them, but I was just like, oh, quick, follow the AD carries. As RNG actually looked to be in position to end this game. I think this is over. I think RNG have actually done it with mid priority and the fact that that inhibitor has respawned. I think RNG are running away with game 1. Oh my goodness. I suppose you can't ignore the Gwen too much as Doing B and... Wait, they did go on to the Gwen. What? Oh my god, the game actually ends. What? RNG? Huge. We're gonna need to... Okay, I need to see if there's a replay of that. No replay? Really? Alright, let's just see how it unfolds. I guess gonna have to be our own replay today. Okay, so the teleport comes in. I'm gonna split this into 2 replays. So we're gonna watch this initial Doing B and Nuguri charging into their backlines first. So the focus is going to be mostly in the bottom side of the screen. Just follow Doing B, follow Nuguri from just about this point onwards, and let's see what happens here. So Doing B seeing Wei and realizing, alright, if we can one-shot him, they lose a lot of their team fight presence, and he goes in. Boom. This is a 2v3 over here as they both Ming and Crying try and save Wei. Wei actually kiting very nicely in the entire fight. Ultimate comes down, really does negligible, close to nothing. And then in this big tussle, Gala is just free hitting, and then Wei is chasing LWX out of fight. Does pop his GA, and just before LWX can get into position to devour him... Oh wait. Oh no. LWX comes out into the Crescent Slash. Oh, why did he jump out this way? He should have jumped out. Oh, I think he expected the Crescent Slash to go wide. Oh, nice little call coming out from Wei, actually using a short range Crescent Strike to just get the damage out. Very nicely done. And then let's see what happens in the back line here. So we see Xiaohu and Gala. Now they're in their own little personal 2v3. Nice flash to the side from Gala, dodging the Chains of Corruption. Does get tagged by the piercing arrow. And Xiaohu is just absolutely mincing them up as Tian runs in to try and help Nuguri and Doing B, which leaves LWX completely vulnerable to Xiaohu. And Xiaohu just runs him down, forcing out the Devour. And after that, Wei gets tagged in and just runs down the bot lane. Nice team fighting coming out from RNG, all things considered. FPX getting a little bit too over-eager there. In RNG, we see a resemblance of the Tigers that won Spring Split. They won every tournament they were in. Number 1, first place, first seed going into every tournament they were in up until now. Up until this is a new low for them at 13th place. But alas, you must be taught some humility, I suppose. You must stoop down to certain levels when you get too complacent and comfortable. And RNG now showing that they do have the ability to come back, showing that they have the grit required to be champions yet again. Will they achieve their crown is a question that we're gonna have to ask ourselves throughout the entirety of the summer split as the new young upstarts of LNG, Rogue Warriors, and even someone else is up there too. LNG, I mean EDG is one of the old hands as well. See if they can come back and reclaim their throne from these new upstarts. And thank you guys so much for watching Game 1 of RNG versus FPX. We are, of course, going to go into Game 2. Unfortunately, today, I think we have run out of time. And so, Game 2 is going to have to wait till tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace!